being creative and satisfying yourselves.
How are we going to make sure that our funds is not going to be taken by individuals? But we also say that it is time for the young people to sit with the elders to learn.
Your responses and speeches show a political side. The way you respond shows your the side you are, I will not mention, you know yourself.
10 years down the road, and now as we are talking, there is no direction.
Yet when your husband goes outside there, he meets young ladies who have a head.
Does that really or actually mean that calling for generational exit?
Equip ourselves and try to train ourselves so that when we come to the leadership later on, we will not do the same mistakes that they have done. Because if we are going to abuse them now on social media like what we have been doing at the young people, they will feel frustrated.
Yeah, the songs there. Why don't you preach it by the way?
If they cannot trust you with leadership, how do you expect them to trust you with funds?
Fine, it's their bosses. They get into courtship instead of them pulling their own youth. Instead, they are pulling the old ones. So, are you there empowering the youths or the old ones?
Do you think we need a political dialogue with the we liberated this country generation?
The president should do this, should do that, should do that. No, we should empower this institution. Or the sharpshooter is really a person of integrity. This person will fight corruption, and I believe he will protect the institution. If this person has no integrity, then he or she will be the mother of corruption itself.
Because the moment I find that this lady or this man is important, we cannot consummate the marriage.
Say in your bedroom, you dress up as if you went to the market. Something very from you to down.
How have you coped with this issue of corruption in your office particularly?
That's one. Can I ask another one?
No, please.
But I'm talking of a young man who completely depends on the woman.
Is it happening? Is it happening?
Begin to admire. You can even say you can, you can.
He has got the chance to travel all the way to South Africa. He did a couple of shows there, and he has seen how. Now, you most welcome.
Okay, thank you very much for coming, and we are going to start Daniel's show live. First of all, I want to welcome you all for Daniel's show live. That happens every Tuesday from 6 to 9. But today, of course, we started a little bit late. And we have amazing panelists with me here on stage. And I do appreciate that they came in time. Those of them got caught up in traffic, that's why we started late. As always, I say that this is a platform where we young people, we have to discuss issues freely. And we talk about what affects us and how we can develop South Sudan. And always, I request your patience and I request your attention as we begin the program. If our panelists are speaking, I request that you be very attentive so that we can get exactly what they will be saying. Now, allow me to introduce my panelists for today. So, the ambassador said, afternoon Daniel, apologies to disappoint you today. I'm in the virtual meeting that started later than planned. Sorry for this, but I will avail myself from tomorrow onwards. Apologies. Do we accept apology from our ambassador? Yes. All right, thank you. Now, allow me to give my chance, the opportunity to panelists who are with me here. I will start with, of course, ladies first always. So let's start from my sister here.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for inviting me for today's show. I'm so happy. So I'm by name Flora, and I'm one of the youth of South Sudan, and I'm so happy to be part of this discussion.
Flora, what do you do? What do you do, Flora?
Okay, the new tribe organizer. Many people will ask, like, what is the new tribe? I started with one of the solutions that we have come out with. We thought of, since most of South Sudanese mindset is towards the tribal life, and every discussion is based on the tribe, so why can't we create something that will reflect all of us with respect to where we come from. So that's why we came up with the name called the New Tribe. And now I'm the coordinator for the New Tribe. And also at the same time I work with Organization for Non-Violence and Development. So most of our work is to train people on how to use non-violence and why non-violence and peace building is very important when we look at the context of South Sudan.
All right, thank you very much. That's, I wanted to give to, I was calling him Eke Dance, but he said that's not his name. So I wanted to introduce himself. Yes.
Thank you very much, brother. I'm very happy to be on here. Discussing with people from different areas and different categories. My name is Akau Jambo. I'm a startup comedian. And unfortunately, that's the only thing I do. I would like to have a job or somewhere else. That's the only thing. If you have any job, you can give me, but for now, that's what I don't have.
Unfortunately, that's what he said. Unfortunately, that's what he does. All right. Now to the man who has been demanded. He was so much on demand. A lot of people called me that, bring this guy for your show. People wrote on Facebook, people commented that you have to bring him. And finally, we have him here with us. Please, sir, just know that you are selling like hot cake. I don't know why, but please, introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Daniel. My name is Abel. I'm the former spokesperson of the former first vice president of the former transition government of Nelson Mandela.
Why are you guys laughing? Just one former. He hasn't finished yet. Yes.
So basically, I resigned. My boss lost his position. And the entire government after was dissolved. So now we have reconstituted what is called the revitalized transitional government of national unity in place. And the new occupant of my boss position is now Dr. He's no longer Jabandenga. He has a new job. Me to the example. So I'm just relaxing for now, trying to reorganize and trying to concentrate on myself. I'm also a former interim president of South Sudan National Youth Union, and also former president of what we used to call the Political Parties Youth Forum, which was a youth forum that brought all the leagues that then registered 17 political parties in South Sudan. So all those things are former youth league, former youth union, former political party forum, former press secretary. So now only Jesus Christ knows what my future was. I'm very happy to be here. I was looking forward to have Ambassador Gordon Musunde. He's a retired general, by the way. He's a major general. He's a retired general who was in the arm wing of the ANC. Mkondo was CISO, the spear of the nation. He has been all over the place. He was trained in Soviet Union, Angola, and all other places. They were the people that kept the fire burning while Mandela was in prison. So it would have been good for him to come, but he's a very busy person. We would expect, dealing with bilateral issues between our two countries. So we forgive him and we accept his apology.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Let us give, are you looking for a job?
Not now.
Not now. So you're comfortable where you are?
I need a break.
Need a break. Thank you very much. Once again, let's give it up for our panelists on the stage. Just as he said, yesterday we had a very good discussion with the ambassador. I was live on phone on Capital FM yesterday, and he had promised, he really wanted to be here. He promised that he was going to come for this show. But of course, you know, as we all say, he's a very busy person. But he promised that, and from tomorrow, anytime you want to reach out on him, he'll be able to come. Now, with me here, these are very influential young men and women. They have traveled across the globe, and they have seen different places, they have seen different political atmospheres, and they have engaged with different kind of people. And on Sunday, it was, of course, the birthday of Nelson Mandela, of which all of us know, the man who fought for freedom. He was in prison for 27 years. He came out, and he did a lot of amazing work. And I think we have this opportunity as well to talk about him today. So today we're discussing the legacy of Nelson Mandela. But since the ambassador is not here, we wanted to hear more about what is happening in South Africa if you have been following news, you have been watching, a lot of unrest right now is happening in South Africa, but I think by yesterday and today they have tried to calm it down. But we'll be able to discuss as well today the legacy of Dr. John Garang, because on the 31st, is it 30th or 31st, we're going to have 30th. We're going to have 31st. Yes, we're going to have Mother's Day. So this is an open discussion. We'll combine them together with Nelson Mandela Day, and July is always the Nelson Mandela's Day. So it's a great opportunity. First of all, I must say that we want to say that we want to thank the government for giving us this platform. We've always said there's no freedom of expression, there's no freedom of gathering, but we want to thank the government for giving us this platform as young people to talk freely on issues that affect them. Now I'll go straight to, of course, my guest here. I just want to go to, of course, Mr. Kao Jambo. You have been in South Africa early 2019, I think. Yes. Can you tell us your experience in South Africa before we go into lengthy discussion?
Okay, before I talk, they really gave us the platform.
Yes, of course it's open now.
Yes. Don't say anything, you okay?
Well, you say anything. Yes, yeah.
So actually, I've been to South Africa 3 times, 2 times in Joburg and 1 time in Cape Town. 2018 was my first time there. It's a great place. You can tell it's a place that has gone through, you can tell it has gone through something. The continuous praise of the culture and the love and everything. Just feel like these people come from way back. You just move around the streets and you see a very tall building with the whole painting of Nelson Mandela in his boxing gloves together. That's just how they're so connected to their culture from different people, different tribes and all that. But everyone still celebrates where they come from and all that. But it's also a very racially divided place. You cannot dismiss that. And it's very, very tormenting. It's very, very crazy. It's very tough. But there are very many different types of people, like the black people, white people, Indians, and different other people, different religions, but you can still feel like the thing that people are crying about in America and all that is still happening in South Africa. You could say it happens in first world countries, but even in South Africa, it's a very, very crazy thing. You can see the difference. If you go to a place, actually in Cape Town, one of my friends took me to the beach, and they took me to this place called Camps Bay. I was in Camps Bay, I had never seen something like that. Camps Bay looked rich from a distance. Before you even get in, you can see money there. You can look at different places, the cars they park, the colors of the cars are those colors that you don't easily buy, yellow, red, pink, you know those Lamborghinis that look like that. Only in Camps Bay. So rich that even the beggars are white, like that's how racially divided it is. But it was just crazy for me to come through such things. Like when you see, I don't care where you've been or what you go through, but if you come from a place like South Sudan, you come from a place where there's so much, where black people are really like going through a lot and all that, and then you reach a place and you start seeing that you even meet a white beggar and you're like, okay, what is happening here? But these are not things to make fun of or anything like that. I'm just saying, it's a very interesting place. You need to visit and have some African friends for you to understand what's going on, yeah? The things that really happen politically, socially, and so many. But at the end of the day, like they say, pressure makes diamonds. South Africa is one of the most beautiful places you ever go to. From the music they make, from the streets, everything is just amazing. It's just a vibe. That's what I can say.
All right, thank you very much for that experience. You said the beggars are also white. Okay, fine. Let's go to Flora. Flora, I just want to go straight to the point. What is your views on the relevance of Nelson Mandela?
Thank you so much for this chance. What I will start by saying is that if we just had the name Nelson Mandela, I think he's one of the great African leaders that everyone is so inspired with what he has done, and being someone who has been in prison for 27 years. He was patient enough. He knows why he has to be there. And even though he's inside the prison, but he still keep on engaging the outside people, like how best they will be able to achieve what they need through a non-violence means. And also one of the things that I have also picked from his legacy is actually one of the remarkable lack of bitterness. You know, he's like this, you know, even if despite the misunderstanding, despite those people who have put him in the prison, he knows them personally, but for the sake of peace, he has to say, let the past go, and we have to open a new chapter. So by just let it go, it means a lot to the people of South Africa, and indeed in this time, he has really played a very great role. And even we have seen when the people say, let him come to the leadership, let him take the leadership. He stood there only for one time. So he has to get down and say, he also needs others what? To learn. So he is just an exemplary leader. He is just a great person that not only South Africa that used to celebrate his legacy, but worldwide people used to celebrate him, and young people keep on learning from him despite that he's no more. But the legacy that he has left behind has made him a great person, has made him to be remembered. Even today, here we are today, we are discussing about him. So he's not that an easy person, and I think in one way or another, some of us in one way or another, we are trying our best, like, what legacy am I going to leave behind? Who is going to be the next Nelson Mandela? From which country is that person going to come? So it seems like we have those questions in our mind, but how to make it, or how do we become that Nelson Mandela is, I think, is something that is a bit hard. Especially when we looked at the context of South Sudan and the situation we are in, it seemed like despite we have a lot of people who are very influential in the country, still they are facing a lot of challenges. So it's something that we really need to learn, and I will encourage that by continuing to read his legacy, by continuing to know the great achievement that he has left behind. And some of the things today we have also Nelson Mandela Fellowship that I believe most of us, the young people, are applying, and we are trying to grab that opportunity so that we also come to learn more about who is this Nelson Mandela, because I believe, even though today I'm talking about Nelson Mandela, I personally didn't see him, but because of what he has done, has made me to be more interested, wanted to know more about who is this person and where he came from, how do I support him. So those are some of the things that we as the young people, we really need to take it serious upon ourselves. And with the challenges that we are going through, because I believe in any challenge or in any difficulties, there are opportunities that we learn from it. There are opportunities that we can grab that can make us to be great people that we want to see tomorrow. And I believe it's not only that I don't need to be remembered today because it's my turn, but I wanted the generation that is coming after me to say, at least during my time, like for example, if you have a child, your child will be proud that, you know, during my mom, she has done this great thing. During my dad has done this great thing. So it's all about what legacy are we going to leave behind.
All right.
And it's a question to all of us.
All right, thank you. I think you started with a question already. What legacy do you want to leave behind? You are in this room today, you're a young person. What legacy do you want to be remembered for? So this is a question to all of us. Let me go to, of course, to Akel Machar. I just want you to tell us, what is Mandela's legacy? The legacy of Mandela in Africa and in the world nation, in the world continent, in the whole world. Let's start from South Sudan, go to Africa and the whole world. The legacy that he left behind.
Thank you very much. You know, Mandela is different things to different people. He has successes and he has failures.
And people don't talk about the failures always. Yeah.
But what I will concentrate on is the part of Nelson Mandela that relates to South Sudan.
Exactly.
So there are two things. He's a revolutionary leader, a freedom fighter, like any of our leaders, be it dead or alive. And he was also a statesman after he achieved the transition from apartheid regime to multi-party democracy. He became the first elected president and he became the president. So he was both a revolutionary leader and at the same time politician. With the revolution, Mandela is one of the rare. What makes him special is that there are two characters that are very difficult to find. There is the type of characteristics that you need to lead an insurgency. To be a rebel leader, there are certain characteristics that you must possess to make you successful in waging an armed struggle. The fight for freedom of your people. There are certain characteristics that you must possess. Most of the case and most times, those characteristics don't match with the characteristics that you need to lead a country. For example, for you to be a rebel leader, you need the ruthlessness. You need, for example, the need for loyalty, 100% loyalty. The issue of secrecy. Because as a rebel movement, you are fighting somebody that is always bigger than you. That's why you have to go to guerrilla warfare, tactics, hit and run, because you are always fighting a bigger force. So you have to organize your people and under one monotonous way of governance. The English call it humdrum way of leadership. That is, every morning you repeat the same thing, There is no variation, there is no excitement, there is no up and down. John Garang will tell people sometimes when they capture towns and they get excited too much, he will tell them, please manage your emotional resources. Because this is a protracted war, you are not allowed to get too excited or you're not allowed to get too sad. It is monotonous. Now, those characteristics don't fit with the pragmatic demand of good governance. So in most cases, good rebel leaders don't become good presidents. So Mandela managed to be among the few who managed to lead the struggle for freedom, but at the same time also transition into a statesman. You understand? This is not a simple thing. For example, the things that he achieved within one term, the issues of reconciliation, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, to make sure that the divide that he was talking about, the racial divide, was breached. Those that suffer a lot of injustices. He also introduced a lot of economic liberalization that allowed for creation of jobs and services, the healthcare and education for those poor that were marginalized by the white minority government. But most importantly, he realized that it is difficult, as somebody that was prepared to fight for freedom, to run a country. So while in his first term, actually the person that was running the country was the guy that he eventually gave the power, was Thabo Mbeki. So Thabo Mbeki was like the prime minister. He was a figurehead that was respected, that opened doors for others, but the real running of the country was left to Thabo Mbeki. And when he realized the right time, he knew when to quit. And Thabo Mbeki came through. For us here in SPL, we have the same issues. We have leaders now running our country that were in the war for 30 years, 40 years. For example, our current president, President Mayadi, was in the war in since 60s. So it's not only the 21 years of the SPLM war, he was in the Anyanya war of those of that. So all his life, his mind and his training was geared toward managing the security and the freedom of his people. He did not envision anything beyond that. So the day he raised the flag on the 9th of July 2011, his life mission was finished. If he had the wisdom of Mandela, he would have realized now is the time to look for those people that have what it takes to lead the country in the next phase. But these are the difficulties we face right now, is that we have leaders who are prepared to fight for freedom, but are not adept in the skills, the charisma that you need to the challenges of governing a country. It is not because they are not patriotic, or they don't love their people, or they don't love their country. It's because they basically don't have the skills needed to do the job. The skills they had were the skill to free us. Congratulations, thank you very much. We will forever be indebted. But the next phase needs different skills altogether. You can see Thabo Mbeki is an exile, by the way. Thabo Mbeki was not in the fight. Unlike the ambassador who did not come, he was actually a full soldier. But Thabo Mbeki was not, he was in UK, he was an exile. He was like some of the people call the lost boys these days. Those that left as young people, and they went and grew up there. and they've learned the systems of the world and how countries are run. They don't know about all these wars and all this stuff. So Mandela knew that I have to have this mix of those that were outside and they've learned how to govern a country, but at the same time have those like Jacob Zuma, who was, by the way, the chief spy for ANC throughout the war.
And he's in jail right now.
He's in jail right now. So he managed to mix both of them well. That's why Mandela, to me, is important. And those things that what helped him is that he had two things that some of our leaders maybe do not have. One, he's actually a son of a chief. He's a son of a tribe. He's a tribal prince of Tembu tribe. His clan is called Madiba. That's why he has a nickname called Madiba. His father is called Henry Mandela, the chief. And actually he was a crown prince. He was the one to take over. He actually decided in the last minute to forego being a chief and went for law school to become a lawyer. You understand? So he grew up in a place where leadership is exercised. Consensus type of African consensus way of governing, he already had it at home because he was being prepared to govern his people. So as a young man, he was told by his father not to do things that his other brothers did. He cannot revenge, he cannot use too much power because he has so much power. He cannot be angry, he cannot fight. So some of these characters you see Mandela doing were indoctrinated in him by his own father. And when his father died, there was an uncle that was put at the region to take care of the kursi for him. That uncle also helped him and told him, look, you are still young, when you grow up, this is your seat. Continue doing so. That's number one. Number two, he also got the best of British schools. The liberal constitutionalism of the British people, because he went to British school. The missionaries took it from his father. So he's like some of these, like those of Wanamalwal, and there are some chiefs, sons of chiefs, that were taken by the British to be educated. So he had both the African leadership and also the British leadership. And that's why, even though he was in prison for 27 years and led the liberation struggle, he also managed to assume the new position of being the head of state and being a statesman with the charisma. It came with him naturally. Unfortunately for us here, some of these things don't come easily to some of our leaders currently. Be it President Salva, be it Waniga, be it Awenakot, be it Kwamanyang, be it whoever. You can go down the list of Politburo and whatever. And all the opposition leaders like Yak Machar and Lemakal and the rest. So we are dealing with a very tough situation. Situation where like one of my uncle told me and said, look, my uncle had his uncle. His uncle had a lot of wives and was a hard-working person. He's a spear master and he had a lot of so he became too old and he got 3 wives when he was in his 70s. So others are saying, uncle, all these cows of yours are the ones we are waiting to use to get married. So, and we are now getting late and you are getting married at 70. What are you going to do with these young wives? But he's a spear master. People are afraid of him. You cannot go against him because of the spiritual fear and all this. So my uncle said that that time we were in difficulties. Those wives could not have children because he was doing nothing. But he was unable to give them to us to inherit them while he's still alive. And we cannot steal it from him because if you go at night, you are afraid spiritually. Something will happen to you because you know God is everywhere. You can see at night. He's not a normal human being. Because a normal elder, we can come at night and say, look, auntie, you better come this side. This thing is not working. Come this side. You know, but he's a spiritual leader, so people are afraid of him. Those women were left for 7 years. They didn't have. So he told me South Sudanese is in a situation where it is in the hands of those people who don't know what to do with it now. But all of us are in difficulties on how to extract it from them safely without anybody dying. So this is the part of Mandela that I like the most. How we manage to be a rebel leader and at the same time being a statesman. And South Sudan can learn from that.
Thank you very much. We'll come back home after the summary. I like what Mandela, the lifestyle and how he grew up all and the rest of the stuff. Now, coming back to what is happening or what has happened some few days in South Africa, you might think that South Africans have forgotten about Mandela's legacy because Mandela fought for freedom, he fought for equal rights, he fought for freedom of expression, he fought for so many things that he believed in. But right now, as Mr. Akawa said, that there's a lot of inequalities in South Africa. I had the privilege of being in South Africa for 4 months, And I really saw what happened, and I was asking myself, I think there's a huge gap between the poor and the rich people. Now, and the same thing is happening here. Before we come back home, what do you think are some of the mistakes that has led to the gap of the poor getting poorer and the rich are getting richer? And the issue is it's always the black people. It's always the black man who is lacking. It's the black man who is always so poor. But the rest of the Indians, I saw the Indians, the whites, they're really living large. While the Africans, which Mandela fought for them, they're not able to get the luxuries of life that they dreamed for. What do you think would have gone wrong? I'll start from you, then I come to Flora, and I come to Akawa.
You know, what is happening in South Africa right now is an accumulation of many years of inequalities and injustice, racial injustice. We can expect what has been built for almost 100 years, ANC by then is 100 years old, to be undone in one term. Yes, South African black are in a better position than they were before Mandela was released in 1990. There's no doubt about it. But the progress has been very slow. The reason it has been very slow is because of Mandela's way of leadership. He decided that we shouldn't undo this thing very rapidly. Let's do it slowly, and let every generation take responsibilities of their own freedom. It is different from what Zimbabwe did, Mugabe. And you've seen where Mugabe is now. I heard that you need a wheelbarrow to go and buy bread outside.
He died of old age, right?
Okay. So he was very radical in trying to push out. Look what Idi Amin did with the Indian businessman in Kampala. And what happened to the economy afterwards. So Mandela learned from that, and he said, no, let's leave everybody there, even the civil servants, everybody, even though they marginalize us, let's not be like them. So that slow is the reason why some people are not in place now. But the progress that Mandela did and Thabo Mbeki did very well were all lost under Jacob Zuma. Jacob Zuma really destroyed the economy of South Africa. He deserved where he is now. He deserved to be president. So he was in the arm wing of the ANC. He was the head of security of Mkhondoa Sizwe, the spirit of the nation. Throughout, he was exiled, comes in, exiled, sneaks in between Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and all this. Throughout. So he was totally lacking of skills to be president. But of course, he's from Zulu, the largest ethnic group, and he used security apparatus, which is why his system was so corrupt. He created a parallel intelligence group, his own guys, and he brought them. And some of this money that is being imprisoned were actually channeled through there. And this same system is the system now trying to do economic sabotage to try and get him out. Some of them are within the security system, some of them are even cabinet ministers in the government of Ramaphosa. So it is now worse because of from 2009 and 2018 of Jacob Zuma, things did not go very well. Because Jacob Zuma could not even read the final digit of the budget. Some of you have seen these videos. We're not trading views. After he has read the budget out, and it was his policies and how much it's going to cost, he was unable to read the digits, like 1 billion, this billion, this 100,000, like digits, like what we did in the 6. He was unable to do it, and he's a president of one of the top countries in Africa. That's why you see people have gone back. And some of these things here is true. The inequality and the bitterness of youth and young people that are growing and are not getting the opportunities in life, to progress in life, no job creation, no security. Some of the jobs that you do cannot even afford your living. Like what we have in South Sudan, for example, where my salary when I was the spokesperson was £15,000. Okay, £15,000 per month, and I'm grade 1. That is the top.
How come you are living large?
Because I'm a hustler.
Alright, summarize and we go to Flora. Yes.
Summarize.
Yes.
So inequalities will continue, but I agree with South African model. of gradualism. Take it slowly. Even in South Sudan, we did that mistake when we came in 2005. We got rid of all the technocrats we found in the ministries because they were Arabs or collaborators of Arabs. You see? You did not go to the bush. You find somebody in the Ministry of Health and he has been a DG for 20 years. And you think that because the government child went to Australia and did medicine in Australia, he can become DG overnight. Because he was a child soldier and he has got bullets and so forth. You don't do that. You have to keep whoever is. These are country. It's not a battalion. It's a battalion. You can bring out this cannon and bring another cannon. But a country, you have to build your people. There is no any other way. If you want a child of Red Army like me to become the undersecretary in the Ministry of Health, he has to go through the baptism by fire. He has to go as a deputy director, DG. He has to make it in 15 years. That's when he will become undersecretary. But you cannot bring him that way. So South African model, even though some of the blacks are still suffering, they are in the right direction because there's multi-party democracy ruled by the majority, and the black will continue to rule, and they will use the assets and the tools of the governance to continue to improve the lives and infrastructure of their people.
All right. All right, thank you very much. Yes, let's go to Flora.
Okay, thank you so much. I think a lot has been said by my colleague, but what is going on in South Africa, if we look at the current situation, for me I would say it's all about the leadership, because the influence that the leader is making is what actually impresses his people. And then there is a gap, like what you have mentioned before. People started realizing that there is actually a big gap between the rich and also the poor, and also the lack of the issue of unemployment. Young people are there, the majority of the population, but also they are facing these challenges when it comes to getting jobs. So, and when I believe as they continue to raise the concern, the leader actually is not ready to address those challenges or the grievances that they are going through. And this one has actually led to what is going today in South Africa. But nevertheless, I still believe that those young people, they still have the legacy, and they still believe that Mandela approach is the best way to solve their problems. And now we have seen the situation is a bit calm. So the leadership is trying to understand what is happening, and that's why if we try to compare this one, it's also looking in terms of the economy. Who are those people dominating the economy? You see? So when you look at in the terms of economy, we can see that most of the people are the white people. So the blacks who are in the market, they are just few. And I believe most of the black who are in the market, some of them are just like, they are carriers. You know, they just help assist. They are just assistants there. But who are the big people holding those businesses? They are the white people. And it's actually going to be a threat for us in South Sudan if we don't open our eyes. It's something, I don't know whether we, the young people, are noticing.
Well, we'll come to that. We'll come to South Sudan. We'll come home.
Yes.
Let's summarize South Africa and we'll come back home. So
yes, but that's why, as we summarize,
yes.
I don't want to disclose it now, but I was just trying to give an indicator that we also need to open our eyes and try to see in terms of the economy, who are those people dominating our economy. And if tomorrow, because we don't need to talk about the employment that everyone wanted to get the collar job. There are many jobs, there are many opportunities that is outside there. But how do we engage ourselves into it? How do we grab such opportunities to ensure that we are also in the market? Those are some of the things that we also need to look into it. And I believe the same thing that has actually led to what South Africa is going today is actually because of the leadership. And when the leadership has come, he has not looked into what went wrong or how do I start from the first person who has left the leadership so that he continue from there. Because in one thing in Africa that we have seen, everyone who is coming to the leadership, he wanted to come with his own system, he wanted to come with his own plan, he doesn't want to follow the other person. So this is some of the things that is actually making us to go backward. Instead of moving forward, starting from where that person has stopped so that he can be able to help you ahead. So this is some of the challenges that we really need to look into.
All right, let's go to Mr. Kao.
These are very, very good reflections, but I would like to stick much on what Angel spoke about. The idea of Mandela, of people coming together, forgiving one another, and moving forward on the foundation of if we pay back and then they get back in power, they pay back again, then we'll be doing this over and over. This is why he said we should come together and try to sort these things out in a very noble way. It was a good idea for him to implement because he saw where it was going. But it's a very easily corrupted idea. With it being because the late Mugabe was very radical. It was like, you took our lands, bring them back. What else do we need? Yeah? Like why are you saying that land titles are in the UK, the land is here? It doesn't make sense. Yeah? It's funny because the way things are done, like politics is a very different thing. You have more experience in politics, and I'm sure you found yourself in a position where this is the right thing to do, and everyone else knows that this is the right thing to do, but you gotta find another way to go about it, yeah? And I think that's what Mandela was trying to do, but it was easily corrupted in a way that the current leaders right now in South Africa, South Africa is a cartel, like the government is just a cartel. How Zuma finally got out of power, one of the chaotic moves, the things that brought him out properly was this. There was this Gupta's thing. Did you hear about the Guptas?
Gupta's family.
The Gupta's family. The Gupta's family was like an Indian family.
Yes.
An Indian family that was investing. These guys were businessmen, but to them they were going direct to Zuma. This is what we do. We get this amount of money. So Zuma actually created a business partnership with a family on the government resources. Yeah, he was easily corrupted. In his mind, the South Africans have been told to wait. The land will come back. Things will come back, they will get everything they need, and he was making businesses over people. There's some white people right now who still own farms in South Africa. From 100 years ago, they still own farms. I was at Tulip last week, and then there's this white girl. I was going out, this white girl sees me and comes and says hi. She's like, oh, so I want to know who are you bringing from South Africa for the show that I was supposed to have this week. I was like, yeah, there's a guy called KT. He's like, so I'm from South Africa. I come from this rich South African family. And so my family is one of those good families that is trying to give back the land to the black South Africans. No other white people don't want it. And I'm like, it's 2021. These people still have land and farms for black people that was taken in the 90s, early 90s, yeah? And there's nothing you can do about it. You probably heard about Cecil Road in your school. You went to school, heard about. I was in the street in Joburg and it's named Cecil Road. Named Cecil Road, yeah? These people still own stuff, and this is why you understand. I'm not trying to condone what the people are doing over there. The frustration, you can understand it to some extent. The frustration. If you woke up one day and you were told that Budele is owned by some American living in New York, you will not feel it so easy, yeah? There's some tension that comes in, and the system has a way of making black people fight each other. The xenophobia that was in 2019 and landed in xenophobia. Like when I was going in, it was exactly xenophobia. Crazy. And you know the people that came? Zimbabweans who are driving Ubers, taxis, Malawians or Botswanians who are doing small businesses. These people are frustrated. They're like, these are our jobs. Why are you taking these jobs? You get the point. Meanwhile, there are other jobs like top jobs that they're really qualified to do that are taken up by other people because of how it's racially undivided. Yeah? Sorry, racially divided. So you realize that there's so much that's owned by black people, and the only person that is standing in between them getting what they own is the government. And the government is saying we are getting it for you, but they're actually getting their share. Zuma got out of power when he was rich, he got his share, he doesn't care if South Africa goes broke or something like that. And also other people working there getting their shares, but there are people who don't have where to sleep and all that. So you understand their frustration. I don't condone what they're doing or the choices of like what they're trying to do. If there's a way it can be, there are white families that own 10 pieces of land, 10 farms. They're like, okay, we don't want all of it, give back a few. Because you didn't come with it, you got it here. There are families that own this, give them a few and take two. But some people don't want to say that.
Yes, and I also am aware that they have what's called black economic empowerment, which is happening in South Africa. If you're black, so you have some, like your children, they have some income that comes from the government as well. And of course, what the ambassador said yesterday, that these black young people, they went and looted the supermarket, they destroyed everything. After looting that, the supermarkets and the spice, all those stuff. Now, a day after, there was no food in South Africa. There was no food. simply because the food was being provided by those who own the supermarket and all those parts. Because after destroying them, these guys sat back and were waiting. So if you saw this on TV, people were lining up, almost like 2 miles to get food. So that's the impact of what they have done. Now, before we come back to South Sudan, I just want my panelists here to say one thing. Suppose, Mr. Agel, suppose you are the ambassador, or we're sending us to South Africa right now, to give them a message, what they can learn from South Sudan. What will you say?
Number one, your issue is economics. Do not tribalize it. Okay? Jacob Zuma, don't look at him as a Zulu. Look at him as an elite that have conspired with the system of the white they found to reach themselves and their families, and leaving you, the Zulu, on the street hungry. If he has now been called by the law, let him carry his own cross. Don't accept this issue that has happened in our country, where as a politician, you are a Ganmacha, and the day you are dismissed, you are from Tweed-Mayadi or Warab State. Do not tribalize your issues as South Africans. This is an issue of governance and economic progress and inequalities between the rich and the poor, between the whites and the blacks. You keep it at that level, where Mandela left it. All these small things that Zuma has brought, let's put it aside. Give Ramaphosa a chance to reconstruct. By the way, remember Ramaphosa and Thabo Mbeki were the two people that Mandela used.
Yes.
Ramaphosa is the one who wrote the permanent constitution of South Africa in 1996. That became officially February 1997. So Ramaphosa is the one who wrote the permanent constitution after the introduction of democracy in 1994. So 96 he wrote the constitution, while Thabo Mbeki was running the day-to-day government, running on the government. So Thabo Mbeki, Ramaphosa is a continuation of Mandela and Thabo Mbeki. He needs time and space, and Jacob Zuma needs to spend his 15 months in prison. And other cases of that French arms deal, the terrorist company, that is billions of dollars. That case is still going on. And let him stay where he is. He's 79 years old, I'm sorry, but he has to stay there and allow South Africans to reconstruct themselves. Right. They shouldn't go on tribalism. That would be my advice to them.
Thank you. Let's go to Flora. Flora, suppose you are sent by the government of South Sudan to go to South Africa. What do you tell them?
First I will talk about being someone who came from South Sudan, and I'm so happy to be in South Africa, and as I have heard about Nelson Mandela, so now I'm in this country. So I will encourage the young people is that let us not attack person or individuals, but rather let us attack the problem, because I believe the issue is not the individual, it's not about the particular person, but it's about the challenge that is affecting us. How do we now address those challenges? So we should look into a way of how we can be able to resolve the problem rather than attacking the people. And also, like what my brother has said, we don't need to look in terms of where is this person coming from, whether it is from X or tribe Y. But this is an issue that has been affecting us as the young people. How do we now address those issues? So in one way is that it's better they should adapt the culture of non-violence, that is dialogue. Let's adapt the culture of dialogue. Why can't we dialogue among ourselves? If it is about the grievances that we, the young people, felt that our elderly are not addressing those issues, why can't we bring them so that when we create that platform that can be able to allow us express ourselves and also try to listen from them. How are they going to support us in this one? So that later on, all of us can be able to come out with some tangible solution that will actually favor all of us, as we want to keep our country the image it is, because it is such a great country and we don't want to destroy it.
All right, thank you. Let's go to Legacy.
I think the best advice was just to let the law do its thing, right? The more the law is trying to work, and we do other things around, it just weakens the law. These guys are put in prison a billionaire. Yeah, the law has managed to bring a billionaire and say we're putting you in prison. Let it finish up. Let it do what it has to do, because the more we want to do all these other things around, we're just weakening it. Let's see where it goes. It's 15 months. After that, there are very many cases. I've had people say there were about 700 cases. Before he was even out as a president, there was about 700 cases from sexual harassment to corruption to so many other things that you have to face. Let the law do its thing. It's the best thing to do.
And I think the funniest thing in South Africa, by the way, I learned that there was the president was making a he was making a press statement and he was looking for his iPad. And he said, who stole my iPad? They stole his iPad, I think, when he was, before he addressed the nation, and his iPad got lost. So the issue of corruption is really something that is serious in South Africa. Now let's come back home. Let's come back home and we talk as young people. You know, it's good for us to talk in an open place like this and we discuss the issues that affect us as a nation. Now, on the 30th, we'll be celebrating the Mother's Day. And we know the people that sacrificed their lives for this nation. For South Sudan we have today, we lost so many great men and women that sacrificed their blood, their time. They never enjoyed anything, but they made sure that we have a nation that is called South Sudan. Now, let's talk of Dr. John Garang. It's about his legacy. Mr. Agal Machar, the legacy of Dr. John Garang. Are we drifting away from it, or are we following his legacy, or are we also drifting away from it?
You know John Garang, the first time I saw him was 1988. He came to Camp where he was organizing us, the so-called Red Army. So that to see who among us is ready for the military training that we had to take, so that we stay organized and stay ready for the future. In case we grow to teenage and you're strong enough to run the AK-47, we go. Sometimes when you think about the work that he has done and where we are now, is a very sad state of affairs. Let's be frank. John Garang was going to be another Mandela. Why? He fought the war successfully, we know, by signing the peace, the CPA, on the 9th of January. It was signed in the war about 2 weeks earlier, but yes, the celebration was the 9th of January 2005. But at the same time, we had another document that my senior comrades have decided to leave under the dust in their cupboards. It is a framework policy document for the transition from war to peace policy framework for the SPLM. How does SPLM transition the country from war to peace? And how do we turn the SPLM, SPLA into two different entities? One, SPLA being turned into a national army that represents the interests of all the 64 tribes of South Sudan, and SPLM being turned from a liberation movement into a political party that can govern and deliver for the people of South Sudan. That document is present. Some of the things that we need to fix South Sudan, they do not die, they are there. They can be read in a very simple way. So John Garang knew that he was preparing himself for post-war. He understands that as a rebel leader, there are some things that are going to change. By the way, he's going to change the personnel. Let them not lie to you that John Garang left them in power. You know John Garang, the Politburo of the SPLM, SPLA originally used to be called Political Military High Command. Okay? By 16 people, divided into the permanent members and the alternate members. The permanent members being John Garang, Cabrino, William Yuan, Salva, and Aram Toraro. And the alternate members starting with the Nyansigal National, going to Port and the rest going that way. They are alternate members, around 16 members. When he realized that peace is being signed in early 2000, he put that body aside and he created what he called the Leadership Council. The Leadership Council introduced new guys that he wanted to help him into the future, going to the next phase. It is that change that caused the problem that you heard. There was a problem between John Garang and his deputy in a Rubek conference in 2004. The Leadership Council was made of 13 people. When John Garang, before he arrived here, and some of these things are obvious information to him, he took these 13 members and took 9 of them and sent them as governors of 9 states. He never wanted them in Juba completely. The current political members, Kwalmanyang was the governor of Awud, Waniga was the governor of Upper Nile. Dilliamacha was the governor of Western Equatoria. 9 out of 13 members of the Leadership Council were all governors who were with clear instruction: either you go to Northern Barkazal and don't come back to Juba until I give you permission to come to Juba. He was only left with 3 people here. Samuel Abidor, he's an elderly man, very calm, no ambition. The next person was Luadin Won, These two are dead. The third one was Nelson Mandela. He called them his advisors. One advisor for economics, the other advisor for security, advisor for whatever. And then he took the SPLM. He said, you Yasser Rahman, you go to Khartoum. You Pakana won't go to Juba. As a secretary general. Nobody else. He did not appoint any deputy. So John Garang, before he died, he knew that if I cross over from the war of liberation into running the country, these lot that are with me here, these warriors that I have here, I don't want them here. But they are warriors. They were trained to liberate the people of South Sudan. That's not a bad thing. That you took your life. You left your mother and your father and your children and everybody, and you went and contributed. You sacrificed your life. Your colleague died so that you can free your people, so that we are now free. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But you are not trained for the next phase. Recognize that. And let's have a turnover of leadership to the next generation. Because Self by himself and Dr. John Garang used to tell us 30 years ago, we are refusing you to go to war, not because you are not ready to go to war, not because we are cowards. No. It's because there is another work that is waiting for us when we liberate the country later on. You go to school. And so we went to school. They push us to Ethiopia. Ethiopia collapsed. The Mengistu regime collapsed. They returned us back to Sudan. They push us to Kenya. We went to Kakuma. We established Kakuma in September of 1992. Some of us got a scholarship. We went to Nairobi. From there we went to Australia. Degrees, master degrees. We came back. And what is it now? Okay? The mission you told us to go and do, we have done successfully. The mission that you were left to do, you have done successfully. It is time now to recognize the next phase belongs to other people, not for you guys. So John Garang knew that he needed different type of people to govern, and that's why his legacy is similar to that of Mandela. And it is also interesting that their days are all in July as well. This is on 18th, and the other one was on 30th. Okay, one being the birthday, and the other one being the day of death. You understand? So, and Mandela recognized John Garang the first day he saw John Garang. People don't know this. Mandela by then was very busy. By then he was doing a lot of things. Transitioning the country, negotiating between the radicals of the white that wanted to continue with the domination and the radicals of the black that are very angry and they wanted to fight. So he was a very busy man. So John Garang went and found him in a hotel going to the airport. He said, I wanted to meet Mandela. So he was put, John Garang was put for a 15-minute meeting. And then they put him last because those who were seeing him were head of states. And John Garang is a rebel leader. So he was put last. He almost changed his mind not to see because the others took so much of time until he was only left for less than 10 minutes. So he said, look, he's a rebel. He will tell me whatever he has to be squeezing within that time. I have to go to the airport. So John Garang was brought in. Guess what? The flight was cancelled and they stayed for 4 hours.
Isn't that beautiful?
He recognized talent right away. And that is now the relationship between the SPLM and the ANC. That's why now we are sisterly partners. That's the connection between us. So, John Garang, the legacy. Yes, he has liberated the country. He has managed the liberation war with all his difficulties and with all his challenges and failures and whatever. He took us to the final destination and he left from himself in charge. Yes, we went into the country. But the saddest part for us, which the South African had and we did not have, is that he should have been given a chance to transition over, even if it is only for one term, from 2011 to 2015 basically, or 2016. And then from there, if he wants to go, he can go. If he wants to retire or God wants to take him, after that, he would have set an example. And he would have made sure that all these senior comrades of mine would have gone with him, allowing the young, fresh blood to come up. So now we are facing this situation where we are. What can we do? So we have to try our best and be patient in a way, because there's nothing we have not tried over the last since 2011. We have tried demonstrations, we have tried war. Okay, I was a rebel leader, one of the rebel people. I went all the way up to Pakistan. There's nothing we have not tried. So what we need to do now is organize ourselves politically. Like, that's why I took this chance. It's not because I'm a youth anymore. But the last time I was a youth was 2015. So 6 years now, I'm no longer a youth. But when I came here, it's because of the nature of this platform that allows the youth to be able to pay attention and to realize that they are not children. John Garang that we are talking about now, when he formed the movement, SPLM, SPLA, can somebody guess how old he was? 37. He became 38 in June, but the movement started on 16th of May, 1983. So at that time, he was 37 years old. When he decided that, no, in Liberia, we are tired of the nonsense. This time, we are going to organize and we want freedom for our people. He was only 37 years old. I am 3-4 years older than John Garang. When he decided that people of South Sudan must be free. So when young people believe themselves, they are actually part of the problem. Because you have to accept yourself. Like the nail, your nail when it is damaged, it is the new nail that pushes out the old nail. The old nail, if nothing comes, the old nail will stay there, it will even get infected. So the new nail pushes out slowly, methodically, so that it is a marathon. It is not a sprint. Young people must be committed in their public life for good. Mandela was a national youth leader in 1944. It took him 50 years from being the leader of the youth league of ANC to being the president of ANC. 50 years, including 27 years in prison. So these platforms are very important. You think that they are not important, but they are important. They are heard. Some of us, our social media are monitored all the way to the highest rank of the government. They see, sometimes they're not happy about what we say, but there is nothing we can do. This is the little we can do. Otherwise, if this talking is stopped, the anger that is in us can explode in a different fashion, sooner or later. So it is better we talk so that we have non-violent ways of addressing our issues. So the youth should not believe in themselves.
For all that. Now, can we have a discussion? And I'm going to open this floor because we are looking forward. We just had our independence celebration, and we are trying to figure out 10 years from now. We still talk about this. What do we want to see in South Sudan? 10 years from now, where do we want to be as a nation? So the legacy that we have been discussing of Mandela and of Dr. John Garang. What do you want to see as a nation? Now let's stick on inequality and unemployment. Okay, so Flora has already said something, so I will open the forum in less than 5 minutes so that we speak out. What do we think of this nation? Related to what is happening in South Africa, a lot of young people came on street and were causing destruction, a lot of stuff. What can we do as young South Sudanese? How can we have an honest dialogue like this? How we can transform this nation instead of going into violence? Because as you said, Mr. Agel, that if we keep quiet, we don't talk about this, it will explode in a different version. So we need to have a honest discussion and we see a way forward to provide solution how we can move this country forward. So let me start from Mr. Akau, and just tell us, I know you said you're not working, you're just a comedian. I don't know whether you are looking at it. Yes, it's a job. But you say you're just a comedian, right? But that's a job, and I appreciate that. So there's a lot of frustration among young people when it comes to unemployment. And you must have seen, you must have heard a lot of young people from different states writing letters, protesting on the issue of unemployment. I just want to say something on that.
Yes. The thing with the young people of South Sudan, South Sudan as a nation, like Ajay said, in these times they were told to go to school. Yeah? We basically what our elders did is they planted so many seeds and forgot to create a room for harvesting the seeds and store the seeds in the room. Yeah? There are so many educated young people in this country. Some of them are even getting old. They came when they're young people, and then they become old, and they're still educated with no jobs. Get the point? After the liberation, after we got the country, beautiful time, everything was amazing. What we forgot, Dr. John Garang had a different plan of exactly how this thing is supposed to be executed and everything. But when he got out of the picture, what happened now was we are sharing in this country. Yeah? Somebody comes like, how many bullets did you get on your body? 5. You survived them? Okay, take this ministry. So everyone started sharing every single thing that this country owns to a point where we forgot where the young people are going to go. But it's the young people that are supposed to take up such places. I mean, there are senior places that can be taken up by older people. And I come to look at all these things and I think this is people pleasing. Right? The biggest question everywhere is what can young people do for their country? What are young people doing for their country? That's not the question. I think the question should be, what are the old people doing to let the young people do what they can do for their country? If you put this in picture, young people have not started doing things last year. They started doing things from the times of Mandela, when they all went out to the wars and all that. They were young people, right? They were getting the oppression from white people and all that, and they weren't able to execute their job, but they were young people. Right now, we are the young people. We are the young people that they were in 30 years ago. But they're covering us. They're not letting us do what we're supposed to do. Now they're like branding us as those bad people. The young people these days, you got hair, and blah, blah, the young people. Have you seen their pictures? They used to have afro and like have a line in the middle, and this is the same as my dreadlocks. And this is by giving opportunities and giving the jobs to the young people. There's a common thing about all our elders is that the only good young person is their child. That is the only good one. The rest are spoiled. That's why you realize your parent will tell you stop smoking like the kid at the neighborhood. And then the parent of that kid will tell the kid stop smoking like you. Because everyone thinks that their kid is okay, the rest are destroyed. Someone will go and pick their kid from a school in Australia and bring them and put them in a job here. This is what they're supposed to do. And then they need like hundreds of people that can do the job properly. And you realize we are still putting things, we're still sharing it. It's still a family business at the end of the day. So I think even us, we are soon getting old. We are 20 years down the road to get old. If we do these things again, then we will have betrayed the country. We are here sitting on panels, even you yourself, sir. Soon, I give you my blessing. Soon you'll be a politician. You'll be one of the leaders of this country. But if you don't like put to work the things we're talking about here, you will do it. I'll come and do it. You'll come and do it, and it will be a circus. We shall do it over and over again. So we just need to put ourselves out of the picture. Not all of us is supposed to be a president. I'm very happy being a comedian as long as I pay my rent, eat my food, and enjoy my life. I'm very happy to do that. If we can feed the Ministry of Health and avail medicine for me in the hospital, I'm more than happy to continue doing my jobs. If you see an opportunity that's not meant for you, step up. I got this link yesterday for a job in the Canadian Embassy. I'm like, I cannot do that. I cannot go there. Share with someone else. Get a point. You share among us, you get job opportunities, share them. It's not just give it to someone else. That's how we push ourselves there. That's how the name is going to push out the old name. Let's empower ourselves.
Conflict that is happening actually due to issues of unemployment, and we have seen how humanitarian workers have been attacked and all this one. So when we looked at all these areas, it's also due to inequality. Because one thing I have also noticed, if we have to do the research, and it's something that Daniel really need to look into it and try to bring people on board, especially the lawmakers, how are those laws being applied? Because it's very unfortunate that today in South Sudan, if you see this organization is being, like for instance, the head is from maybe a Mali or Fojuru, we make sure 90% of those people who are coming to work under me, under my leadership, will be from my tribe. And this is what is killing our country, by the way. The same thing is very unfortunate that we try to look into it. We say maybe it is only based on the national organization, but also we have discovered even at these international organizations, when you see the human resource person is coming from this one, he will make sure to bring people from that particular tribe. So those things has actually created this gap. And like people are started feeling, especially the young people, like maybe you are well educated, you have all the documents that are needed, but if you go for that job, you are not given the opportunity. So those are some of the things that is really trying to kill not only those people who are there, but also our nation, because we are supposed not to do the same thing that our people have been doing. Because now, for those who have liberated the country, we have this issue of we liberated this country, you see. So it's like what my colleague Sororo last time mentioned. You know, those people who say we have liberated the country, so they felt like since they are the one who liberated the country, they have all the right to grab all those opportunities that they are getting at their time, forgetting that what future or maybe what legacy are they leaving. Because it is not about today, it is about tomorrow. If the generation coming tomorrow, what legacy are they going to get? Or what foundation have you put in place? So those are some of the things that we are trying to look at it And I have seen it's something becoming of great concern. And for us, the young people, we really need to be creative. We really need to be creative, like what my colleague has said. Where he is, he's very comfortable. So why can't you be creative? Why don't you create your own job, or maybe something that will keep you busy and make you forget of what is happening around you? Because at the end, you are looking for survival. If I'm not mistaken, at the end, you are looking for survival. So if you are looking for survival, those are the things that we can be able to look into it. And I have talked of non-violence. The only thing we can be able to do is, since we have been noticing that there's a lot of things that is going wrong, why can't we call for dialogue? Why can't we sit down and try to address those grievances that we are going through? If we fail to get solution to it, then now we can come with plan B. How best can we now approach those people? So it's all about starting with something that will really address your problem, rather than creating a tension that will never solve your problem. Because at the end, in the process, we will lose life, and we have already lost a lot of lives. And for us young people, we really need to use a non-violence as a means towards addressing our problem, because enough is really enough.
We will sit and have a dialogue when something goes wrong. And of course, when you have a dialogue, this dialogue has to be with people that also want to dialogue with young people. So we are trying to reach out, like for the past 2 weeks, we are trying to reach out that we bring somebody who is very senior in the government to come to this show. And we hear from them what are the plans for the youth of South Sudan regarding unemployment, regarding all this injustice that is happening in the country. So they will also be able to listen from you direct, and you'll be able to ask them questions. For a meantime, let's figure out how can we avoid such kind of unrest, because it's something that might happen here. It might happen, it might not happen now, you might not see it right now, but if it continues, the rate of unemployment, if it continues like this, it might happen, what happened in South Africa. So what can we do to avoid this from happening in South Sudan as young people? What can we do?
I'm very glad that most of us have demonstrated Nelson Mandela in this year 2021. I'm very glad to AK dance. He was taken to prison for the sake or in the names of youths, and today he's also standing in front of us here as Nelson Mandela. I know there are others that they also who fought for our rights. I congratulate you who is not in front here. Thank you so much, Angel. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name very wrong. My question to you is, you know, there are different ways of communication that most time we find, at least to talk to these leaders of this country, as to become as Nelson Mandela. We as the youths, most time we try to be in the internet, because there's no way, other politicians can say like, my door is open. But when you go to their office, it's very hard for you to enter into their offices, and yet you have something that is burning in your heart. You really want to exercise it so that we have a better country. So I heard you, as you have been saying, former, you've been a press secretary. That I was very grateful. And most time the press secretary speaks on behalf of the boss, who either being a president or what. If there's a war, they normally use him to fight the war. He doesn't come himself physically. So you find most of us as the youths, we find ways how to exercise. At times we post in the Facebook, you find our fellow youths who are the press secretary, they just inbox you, I warn you. So what ways of communication do you people expect us as the press secretary? I'm sorry, I'm no longer a youth, but I know you've been a youth the time you've been working. So how can you let us as the youth to make a better country as South Sudan, so that we can make it as South Africa that today we are admiring it in today. So however much they are in conflict, but still they have good things that we can copy from them. Thank you.
Whenever we are talking about the legacy of Mandela, the 27 years of Mandela's imprisonment, we do not know what happened. I think we are putting so much credit to Nelson Mandela at the expense of Winnie Mandela. So I think we should not be mentioning Mandela without Winnie. Coming to the case of South Africa, we've seen that the problem of South Africa is not a political issue. The problem is economical. And we as Junubin should learn from that. The youth are so much focused on the political issue. That's why we are looking for percentages, affirmatives for youth, for women, for whatsoever. How much are we investing on empowering ourselves as young people in terms of economics? So in your capacity, I wanted to ask this question, Mr. Again. How much education have you done to the young people about the wrongs that are happening? Because you witnessed them eye to eye. How much change have you tried to instill in them by making them familiar to the actual, not the perceived challenges that are within the government, so that they be more focused on the challenges than the assumed problems that they are seeing currently? Thank you.
You see, when our leaders were starting the struggle, they were young, right? They didn't have it easy. They didn't have Facebook to help us. They did not have Twitter. Things were more difficult than they are today. The elders then did not make it easy for them and open the path, open the gates, take over. No, they sacrificed. And that's why we have martyrs that we celebrate on the 30th. So, my advice to all of us here is that if we want to see real change in South Sudan, we need to be ready to sacrifice and do things differently. And then the environment is going to go.
A revolution is not an apple that falls when it is ripe. You have to make it fall. Some of us have been mentioning that what has the older people or the older generation, what are they doing to make sure that the youth participate? There is nothing they are going to be doing for us to participate. Instead, we have to make the apple fall. Violence is one way, but that's not what we're talking about. There are so many other ways we can put pressure on these people. Mr. Agel here, he had to go to Baga, came back to Juba, and he was made the press secretary. There's a young MP guy Maelu. He had to rebel, and he came back, and now he's an MP. So in other words, I'm not saying that we have to rebel. I mean, we have to rebel. What I'm trying to say, we need to actively get involved. But if we are to sit on the sidelines and say that we are waiting for these people to open or to give us a platform to actively participate, that is not going to happen. It is never going to happen. So you guys, we have to start thinking, how do we make the apple fall?
Mandela believed in a peaceful ways of doing things. The same thing as Mahatma Gandhi. It might take time, but we believe as young people, we have to believe in peaceful ways of doing things and negotiating with having dialogue with our elders. So this is one of the ways that I believe in. This is one of the ways that I advise young people to go with. Not violence. Because we have seen what violence has done in Jaman. From 2013 or 2016, the violence that has happened in this country, we lost a lot of lives. So I just request that we have sent a positive message out there. Thank you, sir.
Yes. The issue of South Africa is about employment, right? And I think during independence, our president also increased the salary by 100%. To me, it is not about getting the employment. It is what do you give to the job and what does the job give you. What you give to the job, you develop your skills, you make sure you can be hired, I can be called a war. Today, the light here has come off. They will look you all over, like the doctors. There are doctors in Juba, this guy is staff in Pajepi. They look you all over, you get the money, right? And then the other issue is, we can have these jobs, but these jobs are not paid. We will actually request South Sudan now, even if all of us get the jobs, even actually not most people are working. The problem is that the government is paying less, and all government employees are job seekers. In some countries, I was in Malaysia, you work in an NGO, you are booked from school, you go to government, people fight to go to government. Because the salary of the government is overpowering almost for 8 years. You have allowance, it's about the payment. You pay me $1,000 per month. I have 2 kids, one is in Kampala, one is somewhere. So how do you expect me to go on? That's why we are always fighting, because we are hungry. Another thing is my panelists. The question is, where is the right direction? How the case of South Africa. He came up, he was a revolutionary leader, right? When he came in, he said both the whites and the blacks should be equal. Dr. John Garang, he was fighting, I think it was Arab. But when Dr. John Garang came in, to me, according to what I heard, Dr. John Garang was more of a new Sudan, more of a combined Sudan, right? But he had the strategies that he put across about the SPLM. Those strategies were not clear, whether they were for South Sudan or it was for Sudan.
My name is Yuel David Abraham Machar. Before I ask my question, I want to say a few things. When Nelson Mandela appeared in the court, the first hearing, the first trial, he said he asked the court that I would want to be the defense of myself rather than my counsel. He said my lawyer is going to be there, but I want to be the one defending myself on one ground, that I don't believe in the laws that I am being tried on. They will not be fair. Reason being, they are made by people that don't represent me. Remember, they were made by the white. I'm coming to my question. We as young people of South Sudan, there's a parliament that is coming up. It is more of parties, we all know. It is more of a party, someone goes and comes with his interest, you come from the party, you are given that chance. Reason being, because we've never had elections for the MPs so that we elect people that will represent us. I am asking the panel, what are we going to do as the young people to ask this parliament to enact laws and to make sure that some of the laws that are existing should be repealed? What are we going to do as young people? That's first question.
And can we just have one question?
Second, my last question. My last question, my brother. My last question, it's not about even being a lawyer. My last question is this. Members, our government is full of hustlers. We have to be honest. My brother earlier said that I am a hustler. We are all hustlers, isn't it? There's one principle of hustler. One principle for a hustler. You must be for yourself. You must find a way to get out. My brother, when you were in the leadership, someone said before that we must not question your positions, but it is helping us in seeing what is going to happen next. When you were in your position, you did a lot for the government. That means that you know much that can be done with the government. We as young people, we have no procedures of approaching people and talk to the people in the leadership. This is one forum that has existed. And I am sure in some time to go, we as young people will betray ourselves. As we sit here, some are national security agents, and we'll move and say, no, this show is becoming a problem. People are talking about this and this. And at one point, it is going to be shut down, like some other on Twitter. You as someone has been in the leadership, what do you tell us as young people? To ask them to give us a platform where we can talk. If we are not being given chance to be in the leadership, give us chance to talk of things that can help us and grow. These are my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk so hard. First of all, there's things that I want to differentiate. First, the forum now is kind of like people are talking against Mugabe. And when I see to it, I see Mugabe as a person who lived his revolution with integrity. He was fighting for the land, and he gave people the land, okay? That's like Garang, who was fighting for the land, and now we have our country. Years back, one bread, like one phone can give you 4 breads. Now one bread is 50 pounds. So it's not the problem. It's not the problem of the land or person who shares away the colonizers. It's the problem of the people who are in the leadership that are actually failing our country. Okay? So, my question can go to, again, by the way, I was the one who suggested you to bring him to the forum. Yeah. So yes, my friend, I've been learning from him for using Facebook. It's one of the person I admire. Yeah. And my question goes to like, as you are a big fan of gradualism, as you said earlier, are you truly sure that this gradualism will help us as South Sudanese, as our country is in this track, or we need, another kind of a thing?
Alright, let's go.
Nelson Mandela, as it has been stated earlier, and from the experience, because I also traveled to South Africa 3 times. And I visited Roberts Island. I also interacted with one of the elders who had been engaged with Nelson Mandela. So 2 things. 1, Nelson Mandela had the heart of forgiveness. And what we can learn from the experience of South Africa and Nelson Mandela in particular is that as South Sudanese and as young people of South Sudan, we have to forgive ourselves. Because we cannot create change in South Sudan when we still have grudges, we still have bitterness in our hearts. So we have to forgive ourselves and also spread that virus of forgiveness across the country. In all parts of South Sudan, we have to preach the word of forgiveness, the word of peace, so that we first have to change before we change the country. So this is what we want from ourselves. Finally, when we talk about the sunset generation, the sunset evil and the sunset blessing or sunset good, in a way that not all the elders are bad, there are those who are good. How do we create a forum where we can have intergenerational dialogue? We will be talking with them. Because again, as we talk now, we have young people below the age of 35 who are already behaving like people of 60 years old. Okay? These people are already there. Because this sunset generation is also grooming young people. They are also preparing these people to dance to the tune of that sunset generation or that sunset evil. So my question is, how do we liberate these young people, okay, who are already living at the age of 60 to 70 from that spirit of sunset evil? That is my question. The rest of the things I reserve for the next show. Thank you.
Because when you look at Mandela, he was universally regarded as the best president, the best leader, because Mandela used to listen. He was the last to speak because he listened. But our leaders, they don't listen to us. When you come with your ideas, you're just right now, and the ideas are not helping us. So the only thing I want to tell you is, if you get a chance to meet them, we want the services to reach the people of South Sudan across the country. Because right now, in Juba, the average South Sudanese cannot afford a meal 3 times a day. Everyone is suffering. If you go to any place and you buy a food, maybe if you have breakfast, you cannot have lunch. Maybe dinner, after, anyway. But what about other people in Torit, in Bor, anywhere? They are going through the thing. And our leaders are not seeing that. As long as you're okay and your kids are fine, you don't care about the average South Sudanese, the orphan. So this is something we need to look at. As you think about yourself, think about others. And then the issue of connectivity. You know, I remember one of our leaders talk of South Sudanese youth being lazy, lazy, like we are lazy or something like that. How are you expecting us to work hard when we don't have internet? We don't have the resources, you know? How are we going to, you cannot expect somebody who just graduated to come and start a business. We need money to start. You know, you have to empower us. We have to create something like microeconomic or something to empower other people. This is the only thing I want to bring.
It's my first time to be today in Daniel's show. I just wanted to make one thing about Nelson Mandela. There was a time Nelson Mandela went out. He was in a Security Council. So he was asked by one of the journalists. Now you have this situation here. You have one side, you have Chinese, you have Russian, and American are the one who have been financing your movement. How are you going to handle this situation here? And these guys are all top guys. You know what he said? You know, please don't make me, if you hate America, if American hate Russia or China, they should not make it to be my problem. It is their own problem. You, again, is having issue with Mwaka, so again should not make me to hate Mwaka because I don't know anything about it and what is happening in South Sudan, and that is exactly because coming maybe from Greater Upper Nile, so if someone has issue, I have to follow that person. So we need to work as one people. We need to unite as youth of South Sudan. I'm not a youth anymore. I'm about that age. The youths of today, I've seen most of them, these things of saying, we liberated this country, How can someone who is about 20 years liberated this country? To be honest, 20 years, where were you? 20 years old. Now I just want to go back to Adele. Adele was the chairman for the youth. I know in other countries they have youth initiative. When he was there in that position, what has he done? Has he managed to create an enterprise that can support this generation or the youth that has come in? I can make it ANC has an enterprise, and I work for that enterprise for almost 10 years. And there are over 22 countries in Africa and Middle East. As SPLM, what have they done? Action to create job opportunity for this generation.
Quick question to Angel Machar. Just referring to what Bush was saying, this idea of political populism. And I mean, we had it since the day of Garang, the Garang boys, the Salva crew, now we have Machar, and we have also people who follow Taman and follow the rest. Do you attribute, to what extent has your political uprising been attributed to some form of an alcoholism or some form of political patronage? And do you think your political wilderness is as a result of lack of that that person who can again pick you and bring you into the scene? Because that's something that we have seen, it's an issue here. We had, what is his name, Paulino last time here.
You know, one thing that we need to know is we shouldn't just stop. Sometimes we have to implement some things. One thing that we are talking about is the same thing that we are practicing here. I've only seen two ladies speaking and I was being ignored for so long. So that's just a compliment. I'm so passionate about South Sudan. This is why I'm making a comment. I came a little bit late, so I thought the South African history was already discussed. So I'm going to just talk about South Sudan. I'm just adding a comment to what has already been said by my colleagues, and I'm saying it to the young people here, that you will never be given away. This is something you should know. And another thing to remind you is that being a successful person is not having money, and also being a good leader is not about being in politics. So our achievement should not only be focusing on politics or being a politician. There are some other areas we can be developing this country. Even being a musician is part of developing this country. So we should not only be talking about politics. Another thing is that the leaders of this country were not given, like it was said. They had to join the army, they were in the field to fight for the South Sudan. So I'm telling you that these people succeeded because they had a common agenda. For you to succeed as well, you have to be in the same boat and look at what is so common that we need to do as young people of this country. And thank you very much.
Basically asked my current political situation, how I got here, and what is the likelihood of my next direction. He asked whether my rise in the political ranks were through alcoholism or patronage. I would like to say that, yes, before I went to Baghdad, as I told you before, I was a national youth leader. And in a system under President Zuma, who, by the way, I have not met in my life. I have not met him in my life. Yes, I've never met him in my life. And I rose until I became the national youth leader. But to prove that there is alcoholism in this patronage system, I did not last long at the leadership of the National Youth Union. I was fired very quickly, and I was actually fired on a Sunday. They couldn't even wait on me for Monday. The reason I will address it in other questions here. If somebody has asked what they actually the youth union. So, frankly speaking, some of these uncles of ours they are not happy. They are not my biggest fan. They're not happy with me. One time, somebody went to one of the big people that I work with and said, "Why do you mistreat a government child like this? Why don't you give him this right and this right?" He said, "This boy, if we don't contain him, is going to be another Julius Malema in South Sudan." So the patronage system has not worked with me. I come by my own. For example, when I went to Baghdad, I had never met Victoria or Tabandengai before, and I have never worked with them. So the first time I'm meeting with Machar is Addis Ababa. So he's going by himself and I'm going alone. And because we are fighting the same enemy, we stay together. So the first time I shook his hand was in that picture in his house in Addis, in his office, where I shook his hand and went viral. That is the first time I met him. When he was here in Cuba, I have never met him as a vice president. So I wasn't following my uncle there. And I'm from Warab, by the way, and I'm a Dinka and even Taban, when I spoke for him, so these are not people I have known before. So as soon as I arrived in Paga, they understood what I could do. And the assignments that I was given based on what I could deliver. Yes, there is a system in the country, it needs to be dismantled, but I have not benefited from it. And it is responsible for why I'm back in the wilderness. Now, I am not ready again. I was, the other time there was, a few days ago, there was issues with the press secretary of the president about issues to do with women, women, and all this. And some of the lobbies start talking and say, look, hey, my brother, you are a very nice press secretary to Mandela, the first vice president. Why don't you help us with this job? I told them a simple thing. I said, look, the time is up for me to speak for somebody else. You know, I told him I said, keep on the road for too long. You know, there is no another man who sits in another man's voice. When I was younger, yes, but 3 years of speaking for another man is enough. This time, I need my own platform where I can speak my mind and what comes from me, not what comes from somebody else. So I'm not ready to be anybody's, one of these uncles. What we need to do is simple, as what Manasseh said. People have to organize, and people have to take what is yours. Like what the lady said, nobody's going to give it to you. I have sat down, the only person I have not sat with is President Salva. But everybody else, under them, we have sat down, we have had together for a very long time. None of them is ready, even in the next 10 years or 15 years, to say, my son, I am now tired. Come and inherit your assets. This is not going to happen. Okay? Let me just break this thing to you. If you don't organize, it's over for you. We have to organize. So for me, I did not even lobby for a job, actually. I have withdrawn completely and I'm reorganizing. Even this National Assembly, I did not lobby. I did not meet anybody, whether Numu, whether Self, or anybody. I don't want to go there. I just want to organize first, have a clearer view, okay, and this time organize with people who are like-minded and slowly emerge organically as a political organization with a clear ideology, with a clear programs on how to change the current status quo. So that was a very important question. So I am not going back as anybody's spokesperson or anybody's assistant. I'm going back as a Galmachar myself. What did I do when I was in the National Youth Union? Okay, for example, we had to change the constitution and we had to write a new constitution. For example, what I've told before, from taking 45 years to 35. I had done what Wani Michael knows this. There is the youth development policy. I had put down the framework to it. I had put short-term and long-term ideas on how youth can be empowered. When I finished this document in the first month, and I submitted it to the Minister of Youth and Sport, by then was Dr. Nadia Rufuji. He picked it, he took it to the President. When it was handed over to the President, I was fired the following week. And that youth development policy framework never took off. From 2015, I am still thinking now, it is still in the parliament. It is something that we had envisaged that it will be cleared in 8 months. It has never been done. So I did not stay there for long because I collided with the system, and the system did not like the way I was leading. The reason they did not like me.
You want to say something? You say you are going to go back as a girl matter.
I'm done with other political parties. I'm at home now, and I did not. There's a reason why I did not lobby on the ticket of SPLM or ticket of anybody else. These parties who are governing, and I told before, they are not going to let you go. This is a system that is fighting to hold itself in power. It is not interested in governance. Everything they do is to make sure that they stay in power, to coup-proof themselves, so that mafia change comes to them. And for you to do that, you must break down the institutions of country. You must destroy the SPLM as an institution, so that the SPLM doesn't do its job and change you. You must also destroy the army, so that it is not an institution that is strong enough to come on the street like Government in Sudan and say, look, you politicians, you are messing up the country, move aside. You have to destroy the youth so that they don't organize themselves and go to the street. So you have to deny them their true leaders, and you put in, look, we can go until we go to blowouts. So I understand why the system rejected me, and I tried my best to appease them. But after a few years, I realized that it is not, this relationship is not going well. So the relationship between me and my elders is not going well. It has broken down completely. If there is no any other path, I know that Jesus Christ came here and said there is no way to my Father unless it's through Him. It is okay, you can go through Jesus, but also you can also go through Muhammad. So for me, I had that idea that the only way to go to the Father is through Jesus, and through hardship, difficulties, things that I've seen with my own eyes and I've seen that some of you have not seen, and I cannot even discuss them at this point. I have come to realization that it is not, if the only way to Father is Jesus, we better find an alternative way to Garden of Eden. So it is clear that I am done with that. With the youth union, I didn't do much. My documents are still, people are still working on them now. The guy that was brought stayed for 4 years, and he could not get the basic. It is the basic document of how the youth can be empowered. When you tell youth why you're not interested in government, go to the private sector. What have you done? Have you created the conducive environment in the private sector for them to flourish? Have you done things that have been done in Uganda, Kenya, and other countries to empower their youth? Have you created the conducive environment to do that? Have you funded it? Have you let them organize themselves? So the system itself sees the youth as a threat. So they're not going to let you organize yourself. Then they will allow you, well, they will not organize you, and they will not allow you to organize yourself. So organize, or they will continue to antagonize you. I always tell the youth, organize or continue to get antagonized. How do we liberate these young people that are already beginning to act like elders? You don't have to deal with them. Those of John Garang and Salva Kiir and the rest in late 70s, when they were beginning to form what they called the underground movement, and they were preparing themselves to take the country back to war after the 1972 agreement, there were some people by the way who were more senior than them. John Garang, by the way, was not the original leader of the underground movement. The leader was Albino Korakol. But Albino Korakol, he was the high-ranking officer by then. But he has already begun to taste the sweetness of being in government. Very nice car, Uras, Akil, every other second wife, third wife. So when these young people come to him and say, my brother, remember this 72 peace agreement is now being dismantled by the way. Slowly and slowly and slowly. Now they are going to invite South Sudan and they're going to do this. Can we lead us? Yes, yes, I will do it. When the day comes, the day comes, he check us out. So it is not about dealing with those youth who are spoiled, so person. We concentrate on the few who understand their historical responsibilities as the inheritance of this nation. And as they go forward, the rest will become statistics. They will be mentioned the way I've mentioned you now. You know? And that's why when President Salva came here, the first minister of petroleum was Akwalakwa. Because he knows he was his boss in the 70s and helped them in initially organizing. But somehow he didn't manage to have the courage to go, you know. So John Garang was the third in command. The two that were ahead of him did not come, they stayed in Khartoum. So John Garang had to take over, and so whoever is ready, the like man should continue forward. It is not about them. Some of them I know who he's talking about. Some of them I'm responsible for bringing them to politics, and I apologize. How do we engage the parliament? That's a big problem. I want to let you know, and I told some of the supporters of the system, I told them very clearly, this parliament is going to be a problem for the government. There is no way it is. Now the reason they have not been sworn in is because they are looking for an appropriate speaker that can manage to control the parliament so that it continues to be a rubber stamp parliament. But the truth of the matter is, this parliament is going to be a little bit different. It's not what we want, but it will be a problem to manage. Some of the youth that have been backed by the opposition, like the SPLMIO and the rest, are some of the youth that are even, their heart is in the right place. They may not have the tools and the skills necessary, but their mind and heart is in the right place. So if this parliament proceeds for 2-3 years, it is a parliament that can check the executive for the first time. But the executive does not want to be checked. And that's why all the institutions that check the government have been destroyed. And when you destroy the institution, there is no check on corruption. And if the corruption is not checked, it means that few people will have money and the rest will be marginalized, like what is happening in South Africa.